Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the playbook that explains something you've probably noticed but maybe never really thought about. Why an iPhone is the same everywhere, but a Big Mac definitely isn't. This is the secret strategy that the world's biggest companies live and die by. Seriously, have you ever thought about this? You can buy an iPhone in Tokyo and it's literally identical to the one you'd get in Toronto. But then you walk into a McDonald's in Mumbai and you can order a Makalu Tiki burger, something you are never, ever going to find in Paris. And believe me, this isn't an accident. It's the result of a massive, high-stakes strategic choice that every single global company has to make. So yeah, let's dive right into this global puzzle. Every company that dreams of expanding, whether it's Apple or Zara or Toyota, they all have to figure out how to win in a world that's both completely connected and, at the same time, incredibly different from place to place. To solve that puzzle, you first have to understand the two big pressures at play here. Just imagine every global corporation is caught in this giant tug-of-war, with two powerful opposing forces pulling them in completely different directions. Okay, so on one side of the rope, you've got this immense pressure for what we call global integration. This is the constant push to standardize everything, make one product, one way for the whole world, all to drive down costs and be as efficient as possible. But pulling just as hard on the other side is local responsiveness, and that's the absolute need to adapt what you're selling to fit local tastes, different cultures, and specific laws. And it's wild how many things are pushing companies towards that standardized, one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, they're chasing massive economies of scale. They have to serve huge global customers who expect the same service everywhere. If your main rival is global, think Boeing versus Airbus, you better be too. And man, if you spend billions on R&D for a new drug, you have to sell it everywhere just to make your money back. But then, the world pushes back. And that local responsiveness becomes absolutely critical. You have to adapt to cultural tastes, especially with food, right? You have to figure out completely different retail systems, from giant hypermarkets to tiny little corner shops. Local governments might demand you hire local people, and you have to go head-to-head with tough local competitors who know their home turf way better than you do. So, depending on how a company decides to balance those two pressures, that pull between integration and responsiveness, they can choose from one of four main strategies. This is it. This is the core of the global strategy playbook. First up, play number one, the global strategy. This is for companies that go all in on efficiency. They look at the entire planet and basically decide to treat it as one single giant market. Standardize everything, cut costs. Apple is the perfect textbook example of this. They design one iPhone and sell that exact same phone everywhere with just tiny changes. This gives them unbelievable economies of scale and a super consistent brand. The pro, massive cost savings. The con, well, they might completely miss out on what customers in a specific country actually want or need. Now, let's swing to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This is the multi-domestic strategy. With this play, companies lean hard into local responsiveness. They treat every single country as its own totally unique market. And right, this brings us back to McDonald's. This is why you get a Makalu Tiki in India or a teriyaki burger in Japan. They are maximizing their local appeal by changing the menu. The huge pro is that local customers feel seen and they love it. The con? It is really expensive. You end up duplicating everything, marketing, supply chains, R&D, in every single country. The third play is the international strategy, and it's often a company's first step into the global game. You can think of it as kind of dipping a toe in the water. You're not really focused on massive global efficiency yet, but you're also not doing deep local customization. So this strategy is basically taking what works for you at home and just selling it overseas. It's simple, a great way to start. But here's the big risk. You're super vulnerable. A local company that knows the market better or a big global player with lower costs can come in and eat your lunch. And all of that leads us to the fourth, and by far the most sophisticated play, the transnational strategy. This is the holy grail. It's the incredibly difficult attempt to get the best of both worlds, to be super efficient on a global scale and deeply responsive to local needs all at the same time. Toyota is a master of this. They use global car platforms like the one for the Corolla, which gives them huge scale and efficiency. But then they'll adapt the car's features, its styling, even the suspension for different markets, whether it's for bumpy roads in Southeast Asia or the German Autobahn. The upside is immense. But the downside? This is just brutally complex to manage. And this brings us to that famous motto that just perfectly captures the whole idea behind the transnational strategy. Think globally,
act locally. It's such a simple phrase, but it describes one of the absolute hardest things to pull off in business. Okay, so picking one of those 4 strategies is the first big decision. But hang on, it's not the only one. There's another layer on top of that. A company also has to decide how it's actually going to win against its competitors. And that decision usually boils down to 2 main paths. You can try to be a cost leader, like IKEA, using your global machine to make things cheaper than anyone else, or you can be a differentiator, like BMW or Apple, creating something so unique and desirable that people will pay a premium for it. And you can apply either of these approaches to any of the 4 strategies we just talked about. Now, just when you think you've got the playbook all figured out, the game changes. And the biggest game changer happening right now is the incredible rise of powerful new companies from emerging economies. They're rewriting the rules. See, a lot of these new players grew up serving a huge, often overlooked part of the market, the bottom of the pyramid. We're talking about the largest group of people on the entire planet, but also the poorest. And to serve them successfully, you have to think in a completely different way. And this has led to this really fascinating phenomenon called reverse innovation. So get this. Instead of the old way, creating a product for a rich country and then maybe a stripped-down version for a poorer one, these companies are innovating for emerging markets first. And then they discover that these super low-cost, incredibly durable products are actually a huge hit back in developed countries too. And these companies, think Huawei, Haier, Tata Motors, they have some serious advantages. They're used to working in harsh, unpredictable environments. They are absolute masters of frugal innovation, creating amazing value with very few resources. And often, they're way faster and more decisive than their older, more established rivals.
So here's the crucial point to take away from all this. That choice between standardizing like an iPhone or adapting like a Big Mac, it isn't just a business school exercise. It's a dynamic, living puzzle that explains so much about the products we use and the companies we see every single day. And that playbook, it's always being updated.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. For decades, this playbook was written by companies from the US, Europe, and Japan. But as these new giants rise from all over the world, who do you think will write the next chapter of global strategy?